Well, I'm Alan Dale from Gale Force Winds. It's fantastic to be here with the Atlantic Canadian Aerospace and Defence Association at the Maritime Arctic Safety and Security Conference right here in St. John's, Newfoundland. Such a great conversation unfolding, a lot of industry, academia, and government in the room, all sharing ideas. Such a collaborative space. Thank you to our good friends at the Ship Stop Here initiative for bringing this conversation to life. All the voices matter. And on that note, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us what you do.
Hi, I'm Carew. I'm a business student at Memorial University. I'm currently the Vice President of International Affairs for ACADA NATO Canada, which is a youth volunteer organization under the ATA that works for NATO, advocating for youth and getting youth involved in matters related to defense and international security.
Wow. And through that role, Spencer, have you traveled over to NATO? Have you got to touch and feel NATO?
I have. I've been, I just came back recently from The Hague, the conference, the most recent NATO summit. I was at the Public Policy Forum where we heard firsthand accounts from General Secretary Rutte, as well as top leaders from the coalition, both from military and government. We got to hear firsthand what the objectives are, what the next 5 years is going to look like for NATO, the defense spending budgets, our policies going forward, as well as a handful of youth initiatives and how they seek to get youth involved more in the conversation around defense and security.
The conversation around the defense budgets must be amazing right now. They've probably never seen anything like this.
No, this is true. Since the inception of the alliance and the wind down from World War II, this is the largest jump in spending that we've seen since the Cold War. Nations are finally taking collective defense and security seriously again. We're seeing everybody across the board is committed to 5%. We have a number of states that have already met that 5% goal. So it's exciting as a young person who's interested in the industry to see, this enormous paradigm shift going from when I was first interested in it to now, seeing the money that's available, the support, and kind of just the general energy surrounding collective defense and security.
Spencer, what are they pulling out of you as a young person? Why is NATO, and they're smart to do it, why is NATO engaged with younger people? What are they hoping to get out of you?
Well, I think the answer is obvious. I mean, in 20 to 30 years, we'll be in the position that General Secretary Rutte is, that the leadership of America is, we are the future. I mean, it's a cliche to say now, but it's true. The investment that they're putting into us, I think wisely so, and the reason why they're so focused on it is because we live in a time now that is more radical than ever before in terms of technology, in terms of ideas, in terms of people. The age of NATO gone by in the 70s, the Cold War era, it's totally flipped. Mm-hmm. The youth now that we have it's a totally different environment. We've grown up with the internet, where we've grown up with a totally changing job market. So I think now more than ever, I think the people are starting to realize at the head of NATO and the head of the big security organizations and companies that you really need to engage with youth now more than ever. If you don't engage with them, someone else will. I mean, we live in such an information-heavy environment, right, that it needs to be, either they engage with us or someone else does.
Right. Are you being heard? Do you feel like your voice is being heard?
I think we're on the way there. We're on the way there. It's a kind of a novel idea to have youth involvement in this way. The internet and social media has definitely really really shrunk the gap between leadership and the youth, as well as the constituents of the countries. So you see now more than ever, you're seeing leaders be held accountable, but also, and vice versa, they can actually reach out and hear, from firsthand accounts of what we think of the future, what are our opinions. Yeah.
And when you go there, when you go to one of these events, do you find that you've got good access to information they're sharing with you, what NATO is doing?
I find for our age and for our experience levels, I think we're being given abundant access.
Wow.
It is very good to know that we can. You can always do more and always do better and integrate us further into the conversation. But as a start, where we are now, I think it's heading in the right direction, and I feel like we're getting adequate what we have. Yeah.
The reason I ask that is because you can see that from a perspective of Canadian companies. Having a guy like you on the ground at these NATO meetings, gathering information from the perspective of the company. I mean, that's a real win-win. Not only does the company get access to youth, and as you say, you know, you got a long runway ahead of you, you've got a big working career. That's your goal, sort of, to be a part of that. But you also get access to the larger NATO conversation. You can see how that really plays well for a Canadian company.
Yeah, I would agree. Sometimes it can feel like we're an ocean away, but I think we need to kind of change that, see that we're on the front line. I think that's the best part about people like myself, people in Canada, is that we're kind of changing that mindset.
Right.
I mean, we're here now, we're talking about Arctic security, we're talking about defense, and I'm happy to see that the conversation amongst youth is now people want to get more involved in NATO and more involved in defense, because the conversation is changing and our viewpoint is shifting from being on this flank of NATO with an ocean separating us from what's going on, to now we know that in the Arctic there's things happening, we need to take security more seriously there, and I think there's many more people like me coming up, and there will be a lot more after me. People are involved, they're interested, the internet's showing them, giving them first-hand view to get interested in it, the defense and security-related subjects, and just the general climate of everything, I think, is driving people to be a little bit more literate and interested when it comes to security. So,
what would you tell the younger folks that are looking at this? And because it seems like for most, it would seem like a bridge too far to be in this conversation like you are. What would you tell young people?
Well, if it's not today, then it'll certainly be tomorrow. I mean, life comes at you fast. I know it's funny to say as a young person, but I rarely think anyone is ready for the conversation. If people, I know, especially with the people in the room, you often have, you know, high-level individuals and companies or heads of state around you, and it can feel very intimidating. But you have to remember that 20 or 30 years ago, they might have been a staffer in Parliament.
Right.
And then very quickly they rose to the position they are now. So there's never going to be a perfect moment. It's never going to be the perfect environment.
Yeah.
You just got to put yourself out there continuously. Make your opinion heard. I mean, the opinions of youth are important because they will be policy in 20 years. Opinion now, policy in 20 years. Yeah. So it's important for people who feel passionately about it to kind of shake off that feeling that they can't be heard or they can't be part of the conversation, and to just really get involved.
And what would you tell companies? There'll be a lot of defense companies that are going to watch this conversation. What would you tell them about engaging with somebody like you who's about to go over to a NATO meeting?
I would say it's critical.
Yeah.
It's critical to get people involved, both in the policy side in NATO. NATO is very policy heavy, and they've done a good job at attracting people, but I think companies have a very interesting position because they can offer employment, they can offer very unique insights into the business aspect of defense and security. So I would say to them, really look for it. There's a genuine desire, I know, amongst the community of people I know within NATO who are young or are interested in policy. They would just as soon work interchangeably between either, you know, the armed forces of their country or for NATO, or they would just as quickly love to work for a defense company where they can actually be not just a part of the conversation, but actually contribute, you know, meaningfully in terms of dollars and cents and, you know, shells and non-lethal equipment directly to these things. People want to be a part of it, and I would say just give them that opportunity. Give the young people the opportunity to show, you know, how interested they are in it and what they can contribute.
Well, that's an incredible perspective from a young person who's got an incredible amount of experience now with NATO already. And what an opportunity for Canadian companies to reach out to people like Spencer and make sure Spencer is their guy on the ground when these NATO discussions are happening. Thanks for being on the show.
Cheers.
Appreciate your perspective.
Thank you.